Well, hello there, it's Chadi Bazzi. How you doing? Hope you're having a wonderful day regardless of what time of the day it may be. Anyways, today I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about a topic that is, I'm going to say, very dear to my heart because it's my real true passion, and it's the one thing that I like to talk about more often than anything else, and it's the one thing I'm better at than anything else, and that is selling. The art of influence. How to get more people to do of what it is that you are wanting them to do, having them think that it was their idea to begin with. So, I'm sure you've been to a lot of seminars, I'm sure you've read a lot of books, I'm sure you may think to yourself, well, hey, I already know how to sell, and you may already know how to sell, and I say, good for you. Let's take what you are already good at to the next level right now. And what I'm going to talk to you about is the basic fundamental, the number one principle in selling, and it is the number one principle, and it is the number one principle that is overlooked by many salespeople out there, and that's exactly why they may be at about 85% effectiveness, or the ratios may be between 80 and 90%. How do we take it to 91, 92, all the way close to 100%? And it's to really understand the sales process. So the first step that I'm going to work with you on today, right here, sales process. Step number one is called assuming the sale. I hope you like my handwriting. So assuming the sale is step number one in the sales process. So what am I talking about? What I'm trying to tell you is that the sales got to take place in your head before it can ever take place in the physical universe. Meaning, you gotta believe in you. You gotta believe in your product. You gotta believe in your services. You gotta believe that whatever it is that you are selling, or the message or the service that you're giving to the party across, from you, is one that is to their best benefit. So what are some of the things that you should begin to assume here often? Well, number one, you should assume that you are the best person for the job, period. If you're about to pick up the phone and make some phone calls, then you should assume that the person that you are calling is going to pick up the phone. You should assume that they are going to be okay that you actually called them. Assume that they still have an intention to either buy real estate, sell real estate, and at least refer someone to you. If you're going on a listing appointment, assume that you are going to take the listing. Assume that you're going to take it at your price. Assume that they are cooperative. Assume that they're going to give you zero objections. Assume you're going to set the appointment. Assume the buyer is going to write up an offer. See, the thing is, to not assume anything is to assume the opposite of the outcome that you are wanting. Because when you are assuming everything that I just told you you should be assuming, then you show up a little bit differently, a little bit more charismatic, a little bit more confident, you radiate a different kind of energy, and all of a sudden you got more people saying yes. And that's what you want, right? Perfect. So here on forward, assume the sale. Now, there is a part two to assuming the sale that most people don't ever talk about either, and that is to use what we call assumptive language patterns. Let me write that down. Assumptive language patterns. Alright, so what am I talking about assumptive language patterns? See, it's one thing to assume that you are going to take the listing. It's another thing to verbalize it. See, you cannot assume that you're going to take the listing and say something to the seller along the line of, should you decide to list with me? See, now that right there is incongruent. That is incongruency. What you are thinking and what you are speaking have to be in perfect alignment in order for you to create the ultimate result that you are wanting. So, what are some assumptive language patterns? I'll give you an example. When I used to go out on a listing appointment, after I previewed a property, build rapport, etc. with the sellers, I'd sit down with the sellers. The first thing I would say to them is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, now that you have chosen me as your agent, the first thing I want to do is walk you through the comparative market analysis. If you were paying attention to what I just said right now, I said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, now that you have chosen me as your agent, they haven't chosen anything. I'm implanting those thoughts in their mind. I'm telling them you have already chosen me. So now that you have chosen me as your agent, blah, 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 blah. And then I'd walk them through, the pricing part of the listing presentation, and then I'd look them straight in the eyes and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and as the agent you have selected to represent you, I'm sure you want to know what it is that I'm going to do to market your property to get you top dollar, right? And say another assumption, powerful assumption. And then, a couple minutes later, I'm going to say, and when I bring you an offer, when we begin negotiations, when we open up escrow, when you meet with my lender or for a buyer, when we go out to take a look at properties, when we write up an offer, or if you're going on a date, when you take me out on a date. This can be used for anything and everything. The more that you use these tactics, the more yeses you get, the more confidence you appear, and the more influential you become. So, do you want to be a person of much more influence? If the answer is no, you wouldn't be watching this video up to this point. So, here on forward, number 1, assume the sale. Assume the outcome in your mind. Number 2, use assumptive language patterns, meaning what you are thinking has to be in alignment with what you are saying. Thank you very much for watching another Chadi Bazzi video with TomFerryYourCoach.com. I'll talk to you real soon.